we deserve to be happy and enjoy our lives. We're kind of taught that, after we do this and this and X, Y, Z, then happiness will come.
Happiness will come when you... What's up, everybody? It's Jack here, and I'm with Rina, and this is the Pure World Podcast. So, Rina, for anybody who's watching or listening who doesn't know who you are, do you want to give them a quick rocket pitch?
Yeah, so my name is Rina, and I've been traveling the world since I turned 18. I love introducing people to new ways of living, new ways of thinking, and I curate travel experiences to South America, to Guatemala, Colombia, Costa Rica. And yeah, I'm just finding ways to maximize the amount I'm enjoying my life so that everyone around me can also enjoy theirs.
Facts. That sounds amazing. You grew up in the Boston area?
Yeah, I grew up in Newton, a town 20 minutes from Boston.
What was that like? What was it like growing up in Newton and in Boston in general?
Definitely a bubble, like they teach us that we have to follow this path and there are some options within it, but not the amount of options and opportunities that I've been able to discover kind of navigating the world on my own and with friends. And yeah, it was a lot of pressure to...
What kind of pressures?
Do well in school, to kind of play sports, to build up that well-rounded resume.
It's such a Massachusetts thing, though, because we are so oriented in post-education. And we have so many colleges in Massachusetts.
Yeah, which is a great opportunity that we're super blessed for, but also has its kind of negative side that I was able to only recognize after leaving and kind of reflecting and looking back at it. And yeah.
But you did go to college. So what was that like? What was the decision-making process? If take, for example, if somebody were listening to this and they are maybe a junior or senior in high school and they're trying to figure out what to do, what did you do and how did you feel about your decisions?
Yeah. So when I turned 18, I took a gap year, which was the best decision of my life. And it allowed me to really be certain in my choice of going to university. I wasn't just going because I thought I had to go or just following the paved path for me, but really just creating my own path, which doesn't mean rebelling against the system and walking the opposite way, but just kind of doing it with more confidence in my decisions and making sure that it's my decision. So in that year around the world, I was meeting so many people from all different walks of life and learning so much from the world. But I was excited to combine it with a degree. So it was really helpful to learn about business. And I really enjoyed being there because I chose to be there.
You went to Bentley University.
Bentley University.
And what did you concentrate or major in?
Business management and a couple minors in Chinese. And
Can you speak Chinese?
A little bit.
Say a little something to the people.
It's nice to meet you. 认识你我很高兴.
Have you been to China?
Not yet, actually.
Well, you got to.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah, I think China, I do wonder about whether or not now is a good time to go to China. I know my sister did an internship in Shanghai, and after studying abroad in Chiang Mai, Thailand. So for anybody who doesn't know, Chiang Mai, Thailand, my sister did study abroad, and then afterwards went and did an internship in Shanghai, China. And she really liked Shanghai, China. And so I want to go, but with today's, political climate, I wonder if it's a good decision. What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are that it is absolutely a good time to go. You just get connected with a friend in China and kind of ask them and have them, someone who has your back, but I definitely don't use the news to decide where I go, or the general situation in the world.
What do you use then to determine if it's safe? Yeah.
Yeah. I just usually have a friend in the country that I reach out to and kind of see how they're doing, what's happening, what's going on, and make sure that it feels safe to them, and then it'll feel safe for me. Yeah.
Do you ever go on the government's travel advisory page?
No. It's always like level 4, do not travel in places where I just feel so safe and relaxed. So no, absolutely not.
Yeah. And if you looked at like a different country's rating on their travel advisory, it could be completely different. And so again, it kind of comes down to the geopolitical climate of the world, and like whether or not your country is on good terms with the country you want to go to. And if they're not on good terms, they could scare their citizens to not go and tour those places by like saying, you know, this is
Danger.
A level, dangerous
Stay out.
place.
But I feel like in general, it's portrayed like the rest of the world is super dangerous and it's safe here in the US. But ironically, I felt like less safe here in Newton.
I know.
Than I have.
I know stories of people who are avid travelers, like digital nomads, and then came back to the United States and saw the most trouble here.
Ironically. I mean, there's even like unspoken trouble, which is it looks safe and it looks fine. But what about the mental health? What about stuff we can't see? Are people struggling?
Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? Like, do you mean just like the general population, how they are?
Yeah. I mean, going back to the pressures we grew up with, not being told that there is this world we can go out and explore, and not being told that we deserve to be happy and enjoy our lives. We're kind of taught that, after we do this and this and X, Y, Z, then happiness will come.
Happiness will come when you retire.
Yeah, like postpone fulfillment and joy when what else are we on this earth to feel? So yeah, I just feel that there's a lot of people who struggle with thoughts that are kind of destroying them, that are working against them, and struggle to find support in their big dreams. You know, they feel like if they follow the path, then their parents and friends will respect them. And if they don't, then they'll lose it. So it's kind of like this conditional love and this postponement of happiness. And all of this feels more dangerous than like the danger that's imagined.
Right. And it's not necessarily a physical danger. Yeah. And that's what people don't fully comprehend, is that like danger and harm can come in more ways than physical. You know, people can suffer while having a six-pack. You know, like
here in the US, it's so focused on financial and physical wellness that we forget about emotional, spiritual, social, other forms of wellness that are super important to live a safe life.
What's your favorite way to practice wellness?
To practice wellness in my daily practice, because I remember I would go on and off trying different forms of kind of morning routines, what works for me. And at one point it was kind of like a burden, like, I have to fit in my practice and when am I going to have time? But then really early on, honestly, like many years ago, I realized that my practice makes more time and space and capacity to take on whatever challenges or whatever happens that day. So it's amazing because when I built the consistent practice, I couldn't imagine a day without it. And it allowed me to kind of tune into my own needs and then therefore show up for others fully.
Real quickly, could you walk us through what an average daily practice would look like?
Yeah, I just get on my mat and start with a breath work. Have you ever done breath work? Wim Hof? Yeah. Prepares you for...
Not specifically Wim Hof, but I've done breath work.
There's cool
before.
like YouTube Wim Hof breath works, and it's just like you breathe stomach.
Do you listen to YouTube while you're doing it?
Yeah, there's some guidance there. So stomach, chest, and then exhale. And kind of repeating that over and over, and then allowing that breath, that prana energy to move through my body, to energize me, charge me up in a way that nothing external can do to that extent. You know, like you can get a compliment or a raise or like a response or likes or some kind of dopamine release that's unnatural and it's fleeting, you know, or even when you succeed in something, you're like super stoked and then it passes and then what? And so this breath energy really charges me up in the morning, and I move into my sun salutations, my yoga practice, and
what are sun salutations?
they're basically in yoga, the flow that you move through.
Okay.
So starting
Like almost like a routine.
yeah, like arms up and then all the way down.
I've got my own.
Chaturanga. Yeah, you got your flow.
Yeah, I got my flow.
Yeah, you got your flow.
Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of my flow is based on like posture stuff.
Yeah.
So like a lot of back and
Posture, absolutely. Strengthening the core, making sure that you're not doing the poses just to get them done, but really tuning into them and making sure your body's aligned in the right ways. And yeah, tuning my breath in with my body movements. I really love dancing as well. So getting a little dance in, turning on the speaker and doing my self-care.
How long does this take you? Like if you're starting your day?
Honestly, I don't live on a very time schedule life.
Except for today. Today we had we had something scheduled.
Yeah, but I'm here in Boston under a different circumstances.
Right.
But typically in like my day-to-day lifestyle, I just wake up and that's the priority. That's what I do first.
Are you ever stressed that you're not being productive enough?
No, productivity looks very different to me. I think the way that I was taught to be productive is like checking off boxes, completing tasks, being told what to do. But choosing entrepreneurship in that path when I was 19 was my decision to say, you know, I'm creating my own schedule, following my own path, and productivity is defined by how I want it to look. So to me, productivity is having strong relationships and feeling fulfilled and enjoying the journey, and breathing is productive, and challenging myself to grow and learn and pushing myself out of my comfort zone. And I feel like all of that has been super productive. And within that, I've been able, you know, to get my college degree, to travel to over 50 countries. And all of that has become, the bigger picture has made itself productive without kind of day to day being hard on myself. Is this productive? Is this not? You know, being alive is what's productive to me. Yeah.
Totally. You mentioned that you consider yourself an entrepreneur. Let's talk a little bit about where you live in that space. So you run retreats. Yeah. And they're generally in Guatemala, right?
Yeah, Guatemala, Colombia, Costa Rica, generally in Central Latin America.
And what got you started with that idea?
Yeah, so when I turned 18, I did that trip around the world, 14 months with my two best friends, and even had some moments where I did solo travel, like to Ethiopia when I was 19. And after traveling the world, I went back to study at Bentley University, and I just started realizing that traveling as a lifestyle wasn't really common. It was more so just like saved for one vacation or two vacations a year. It wasn't
right.
As well known. So I started, October break came around, and I went on my short 5 days to like Guatemala, and then December break to Colombia. The summers, everyone would get internships, and I would just get that one-way ticket to Cambodia or Asia.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, and just spend the summer.
So you didn't do summer internships throughout college?
Not once.
That's so funny, because that is another conditioning expectation of, especially Massachusetts is like the quintessential college state for people who go and they study and they get a job afterwards, and they do their internships in the summers, and they maybe take one family vacation a year.
And college career fairs, I never went to one of those. You know, everyone would be dressed up in their suits and in their business professional fits, and I would just walk and, you know, I would have thoughts in my head like, what if I did go? What would happen? Right. But I never allowed those thoughts to like bring me down the path that wasn't for me.
But at the same time, I knew you while you were a student, and I remember you taking so many classes and I think you were proud of your grades. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, I got straight A's since high school. Yeah.
Right. So it's not that you like didn't care, weren't a hard worker in your work, but just had different priorities. But I do remember you like being a hard worker.
Definitely.
So
I took extra classes.
How does that balance, especially like moving away from college? You work so hard in such a rigid structure to get A's, And how does that translate to your current lifestyle?
Yeah, so it really helped me kind of launch my business sophomore year, when I was like, hey, who wants to come with me to Guatemala October break? And I knew how to create an expense sheet and how to prepare an itinerary and how to kind of like get the logistics together to make it happen. Contacted my drivers, found the places we're going to stay, booked all the things. And I was able to bring out a group to Guatemala and completely shift the way they saw their lives. You know, these people were, I mean, 2 people came up to me and said it saved their life. So it was like super deep experience to realize, wow, like I don't have to, I found out this key that I have in my pocket that I can go out and explore the world, discover new places, learn about myself. And now I get to like share this key with others. And then December break, again, I brought a group, this time bigger group, out to Colombia, and we went across the North Coast into the jungles and mountains and just had an adventure of a lifetime. And yeah, after that, I called the university and said I'll be back in September and took that gap semester.
Okay, so gap semester sophomore year of college.
Yeah.
And
yeah, to continue developing the business. So that's kind of like how I found harmony with what I was studying, you know, business management, entrepreneurship. It was teaching me necessary communication skills and kind of how to operate a business from all standpoints, from the finance to marketing to accounting. And then I was able to go out and apply those skills in my own company business. But something interesting about the way I've always run business was I was never focused on the finances. I was never focused on the money. You know, I feel like a lot of businesses are built off kind of profits and anticipation of how we're going to make money and how this is going to function. But for me, I was always like, I just want to create the greatest amount of impact possible. And hopefully that will bring me money. And it has always been this self-sustaining system, which 5 years later, I definitely want to start diving more into like organizing the finances and kind of having everything.
Right.
I do have my CPA and my accountant and everything being taken care of, but I do want to kind of add more structure. But over the last 5 years, I didn't have that structure. So I was able to almost do business from like the feminine flow. You know, it's not, the masculine is kind of more like outcome oriented. Let's get this, let's follow this path. Let's create this rigid structure. I was like, okay, let's trust, let's do what we can. Let's let people know. And then allow it all to like unfold the way it's supposed to, and just kind of like trusting the way it's supposed to be. So
something that I have really embodied in my entrepreneurial philosophy is sustainability. And oftentimes people think of as sustainability in terms of environmental, and then you can get one deeper, which would be social, but there's also economic sustainability. And so for me, what I think about, like, you know, you were saying that you were running this business for 5 years and it always kind of ended up seeming to work out. And same with me in Pure World. I've been running it for such an extended period of time. It's been such slow growth, and slow growth is sustainable growth.
Yeah.
Expecting to like double or triple in 1 year is, I mean, that's risky, because what if you can't continue that? What if you take out debt and leverage it against your expected growth for the future, and then you don't hit it? Now you're at risk. So for me, sustainable growth is slow and like meaningful growth.
Definitely. And recognizing that this is something we want to continue building throughout our lives and for it to live on beyond our time on earth. Yeah. So not rushing that outcome, you know, our reputations, our relationships, our connections are way more important. And also on these experiences, I'm teaching people to like look in and find everything they need within them. So it's also been a journey of finding that within myself. So really taking my time to have, I always mix, like, for example, on that gap semester, January to May, guiding experiences, working on the company, and then the summer in India by myself doing a 200-hour yoga teacher training, and away from substances, totally sober, away from meat, even eggs, technology, and just like taking time to look within and find what I'm looking for within myself, and kind of nurturing that inner world, watering the flowers that are within, and yeah, making sure that I'm growing my company at the same pace or similar pace as I'm growing myself, so that it's as authentic as can be. And I'm not teaching something outside of myself, but rather embodying my truth, living this lifestyle, and then being like, hey guys, who wants to come with me? Like, you can do this too.
Right. You mentioned watering your flowers. Let's talk about that. Like, what do you mean by watering your flowers? And if somebody were listening and they said to themselves, I want to water my flowers, how would you recommend they do that?
Flowers. You should water your flowers. You can. I don't like to say should, because I don't want to teach people how they should be. But for me, watering my flowers has been kind of taking time to sit in silence, away from noise, away from all the chaos, away from technology and distraction, away from like kind of always succeeding or accomplishing something or doing something for someone, and kind of away from deriving worth from the external and finding that from within. Like, who am I away from all of that? And in that space, taking care of my needs, tuning in, like, what is it that I need, you know, so that I'm not blaming anyone else for not fulfilling needs that I don't even know I have. Or like really starting to understand my boundaries. Like, where do I get triggered? Okay, how do I express, how do I communicate this to the people I love? And how do I create an environment around me that is always beautiful, because my inner world is beautiful, you know? It's less dependent on kind of who's around, what's happening, and more dependent on how I'm feeling from within. And that way I can, like, wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, I can always feel good. So really, like, watering that inner world through, like I said, daily practice, literally drinking water, and just taking care of myself and my needs, and learning about myself and my needs, and showing up for myself and my needs. Yeah.
Before we started recording, you said something along the lines of prioritizing yourself is actually selfless.
Yeah, ironically.
Could you expand on that?
Yeah, you think it's like selfish to take care of yourself, but it's so selfless, because you are literally changing the world by taking care of yourself. You are showing up for others from a whole self, not from a place of need, not from a place of like, help me, I need advice, I need this, I need that. I mean, don't get me wrong, you should always be able to ask for help when you need it. But when it's like on this emotional roller coaster where your emotions are taking control and you're just like living autopilot, half alive, and then you're showing up for your friends kind of like tired, and you're just like, it's not contributing as much as you can be if you've taken care of yourself, and now you're showing up with this energy, with this life force energy, with this excitement and passion, and you have more space to hold space for others. And by taking care of yourself, you're not asking others to be taking care of you. And then you're kind of like expecting nothing, but then receiving everything, because people want to help and people want to take care of you, but it's not like you need it to feel good.
Yeah. And when you said like, you're not just not needing things, that's when you're taking away, right? If you're in your relationships example, like if you're always the one who's needing, it's not mutually beneficial. It's not like a wholesome relationship, because you're always the one who's benefiting from it.
Yeah.
If you're in a place of need, then you can't
fully give.
Yeah, you can't fully give. Exactly.
Yeah. So this is like taking responsibility for your energy and the way that you're showing up in a room, and the way that you're showing up in your friendships and your relationships and all of it. Like, are you showing up and energizing people and contributing energy and elevating them? Or are you kind of taking away and coming from a place of need, like you mentioned? So yeah, taking care of ourselves is the single most, like, the first step. You know, we're always looking outside of ourselves. Who can we help? What can we do? Why is this person like this, judging others, whatever? But why don't we look in first, you know? And instead of trying to change anything in our lives, change our partners, change our jobs, why don't we change the way we see it, you know? And starting from our inner world and implementing more gratitude and more love into our perspectives. And yeah, I'm just so grateful for everything, like that's literally so for everything, for breathing, for being alive.
How about stepping outside of your comfort zone?
Yeah.
Have you ever been
stepped out of my comfort zone?
Have you ever been in a place where you felt genuinely unsafe or just at minimum uncomfortable?
Yeah, definitely. I think that a lot of times when I decide to go to a new place, I don't really look way too much into it, I have a friend or two there and just get the ticket and go. And I think leaving my comfort zone never really gets easier. It's not something that like you get used to. Oh yeah, I've done this before, it'll be good. It's like you still wonder what will it be like, who's gonna be there, what am I gonna learn. So yeah, I really value leaving my comfort zone, and I know that the rest of my life I'll have time for comfort. I'll have time when I build a family, when I have,
Wow, but that sounds kind of like the whole, like, putting things off.
Yeah, I mean, putting comfort off.
Putting comfort off. Yeah, it's an interesting concept.
Right?
To even put comfort off.
Yeah, like I find comfort within the uncomfortable, because like after you cross that, what do they call it? Threshold. You're just like, you discover a whole new sense of comfort. Like
you find comfort in the uncomfortable. What are you, Bear Grylls?
You find so much comfort in the uncomfortable, because at first it's uncomfortable, but then it ends up being the best decision of your life.
Right.
Like you're scared to fly across the world, and then you get there and you're just like chilling on the beach, super comfortable, with a bunch of new people and a bunch of new realizations. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think the whole process of being uncomfortable, facing that discomfort, and then learning so much about yourself by crossing that is way more rewarding than kind of like sticking to that bubble that I grew up in.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever, though, felt unsafe while traveling?
Yeah.
And what was like an experience like that?
When I was 19, I went to Ethiopia by myself. And it was kind of my first solo experience. I just younger me just wanted to prove I could do anything. So I just showed up in Ethiopia, and I remember the guest house owner was asking me, "What are you doing here? And what's your plan?" And yeah, I just started crying. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here. And then wiped my tears and just started walking and exploring and meeting new people. And even though it was out of my comfort zone, I still ended up being safe. So even though like I felt unsafe, I was never truly unsafe in my 7 years around the world. Yeah.
Wow. That's would you say that's lucky, or do you think that you are very observant and you're very cognizant of your own safety?
Yeah, super aware and take the precautions. And
what kind of precautions?
Look, at night I probably wouldn't walk through the streets.
In Ethiopia,
take some transportation. Yeah, right. And just awareness of my surroundings, awareness of who I'm talking to, who I'm interacting with. And yeah, it comes so naturally at this point, because it's what I've been doing since I was 18. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I just have eyes on the back of my head. I'm like aware of what's happening without even trying to be, just kind of what happens naturally. And yeah, I find safety within myself. Honestly, I feel super safe within. I know it's like kind of cliche, but I really feel that feeling of home within myself, because I've nurtured my inner world and created this sense of safety that wherever I go, if it's unsafe, I'm going to leave, Yeah. So just.
Okay. I want to try something. Okay. I'm going to ask you a prompting question about a place, and you're going to tell me what place it is in your mind.
Okay.
Best beaches you've ever been to?
French Polynesia.
Okay.
Tahiti, Moorea, Bora Bora, the islands out there in the South Pacific.
Okay. Best hiking?
Maybe Colombia. I really liked Tayrona and Machu Picchu in Peru.
Okay. Surfing?
Nosara, Costa Rica, where I hosted this villa with retreats every week. And yeah, it was just like amazing surf town, especially for beginners.
Best desserts?
Italy?
Okay.
Yeah.
Spiciest food?
That's a good one. Thailand, I remember, was spicy food.
Okay. Cleanest streets?
Japan.
Dirtiest streets?
Dirtiest streets. That's kind of generalizing. I think every place has its
Okay, fair. Place where you would definitely drive a motorbike?
Ooh, that's a good one. North Vietnam.
Place you would definitely not drive a motorbike?
Probably in Brazil.
Okay. Most beautiful people?
Oh, I just find beauty in everyone I meet.
Yeah, that's kind of a leading question. There's beautiful people everywhere. I want to talk a little bit more about your business. For anybody who is listening here and could be a potential customer, you want to give them a little pitch on what you do?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really sell to customers. I know selling is like the most important part of business, but I kind of just trust that anyone who needs this will hear about it and will come along. So just to tell you about what I do, I bring people on experiences. So this isn't like a tour. It's not like we're going to do this and go from here and there. It's not focused on the sights or the views. I do bring them to such beautiful places with volcanic backdrops and jungles and mountains and beaches and beautiful places, but it's more focused on the inner world and how people are feeling. So I bring groups of strangers together. They know me, but they don't know each other. So I encourage people to come if you want to come without friends or partners, just kind of come on your own so that you can meet new people and have that openness to discover more about yourself away from like who others think you are or who you think others think you are. So you get just this blank slate in this new country and new friends and new people, and I make sure that all the people are going to work really well together, and then I make a group chat and everybody gets to know each other and kind of gets to know each other's passions, where they're at, adds each other on Instagram, and then we get to the country and there is no itinerary. So I just get to know each person, what they would love to do, and then kind of tell people what we can do, and then they choose what they want to do. And we all kind of catch the same wave, and we're like suddenly all synchronized exploring this new country. And before COVID, it was more so like from the city to the mountains to the jungle to national park, like in Costa Rica. And then after COVID, it was more in one place. So we all lived together at one villa. We had our chef, drivers, our surfboards, our ATVs, and every day we would just, wake up, work out, swim, work on our own stuff, time alone, time together. And basically it's a way without substances. So it's not like we still dance and we go out, but we just don't know alcohol or drugs or anything like that. It's all about kind of finding what you're looking for within yourself, not within substance, not within anything external. And I've shown over 100 people now how to travel in this way, like in this kind of as a lifestyle, and introduce them to this week where I basically take care of all their needs on Maslow's hierarchy. Yeah. So bottom is like basic needs, then safety, love and belonging, self-esteem. And at the top is self-actualization. Like, who am I? What am I here to do? What's my purpose? How can I help others? And so by taking care of all their bottom needs, their basic safety, love and belonging, esteem, kind of hyping them up, introducing them to new people, creating kind of like an environment around us of like the highest frequencies of just like connection, enjoying life. And by taking care of all of that, organizing the transport and food and accommodation and everything, so they don't have to think about any of that, and they can just spend time in the self-actualization space. And it's amazing. We, in this crazy busy life, we just rarely have time away from noise and chaos to like focus on what we really want in our life. And with such beautiful views, immersed in nature, with completely new people around them, it just like becomes this effortless process of awakening to like,
wow,
their power.
Sounds amazing.
To their purpose.
Sounds like a lot of fun. Do you find that staying in one villa for the whole time compared to how you used to do it, where you would travel to different places, which one do you find is more enjoyable?
For me, I personally love the villa experience because I like when we can get like settled in all together and start to really get to know each other without having to move around too much. And then I'm able to talk about how I've been able to travel the world from place to place and move around super quickly, like 28 countries in a year, and kind of explain to them how they can do it too, so that they can go out and then still have that experience on their own. Most people kind of like postpone their flights home and then continue on their own. So I like the villa as kind of like the starting location to their journey and experience, and then they go off and branch out on their own.
That's super cool. And do you still stay in hostels?
Personally, no.
Okay, why?
No, I did so much when I was like 18, 19, 20, 21. And I was always like, when I get older, a few years older, I just want like nice days and kind of feel more home and grounded wherever I go. And I just became kind of less interested in the hostel conversations of where are you from, like, what are you doing? What's your journey? Where are you going? It's like, it just became kind of repetitive, and I just wanted comfort and space, and became less focused, honestly, on expanding my network and more on nurturing the network that's been created over these years of studying in Boston and traveling. And so it's more fun for me to kind of curate a hostel experience in a villa. So like, it's like a luxury hostel experience.
Yeah, that's super cool. And when you do decide you want to go to a place, you said earlier in the conversation that you like to know somebody there.
Yeah.
How do you get to know somebody? For somebody who's watching and is like, I don't know anybody in a place, how would you go about?
I mean, hit me up. I'll introduce you to somebody. But I go about it. I used to always just talk to everyone I saw, like strangers. And even from school and university, like people would connect me to people in the country. You know, I would meet up with people originally from Guatemala or Colombia who studied back in Boston. They would introduce me to their friends, or I would just meet them on the go and just say hi to everyone I saw, you know, just really develop relationships with strangers. And at first they're strangers, and then we say what's up, and then we dive deep, and then we drop in, and we get to like share with each other things that sometimes we don't even share with our closest friends. And suddenly in moments you develop this strong bond and stay in touch through Instagram. And years later,
do you stay in touch over Instagram? Because I find it's kind of difficult sometimes to nurture and keep your old relationships healthy and up to date. And sometimes there are people who I've met, like I'm thinking of this one guy who I met in Nepal in a hostel, and I might have forgotten about him until I saw his face on Instagram or something like that. But he sent me a message on New Year's, and it was an obviously a copied and pasted message, but he was like, to all my friends from around the world, and then went on to some really nice message. But I thought that was an interesting way for him to keep his network, you know, engaged, and people remember that he's there. Because I think it can be hard when you're meeting so many people and they're all over the world. You might forget about some people. What do you do? Yeah,
I mean, whenever I post stories, I get responses from people I've met around the world, and I feel like I love making phone calls. I rarely need stuff from people. I just call just to check in, say what's up, and hear how they're doing, and effortlessly spread my energy and my light and inspire them and remind them of how amazing they are and how loved and supported they are. So yeah, just like whoever's in my realm, I nurture that. And if I'll think of someone that I met, like you said, randomly, I'll give them a call. You know, I won't just leave it at a thought. I'll take action on it. And yeah, I love phone calls, just like a quick drop in. And I agree that there's so many different relationships to nurture, and people, you know, that have been on honestly, I'm really close with people who I've traveled with, who've come on Dreams Overdue experiences. I really I like staying in touch with them. And I love, just connecting with whoever is reaching out and kind of knowing that there are people that we just meet for a moment, but they teach us a lesson and they teach us something about ourselves. And it's less about kind of how permanent or consistent the relationship is, and more about the fact that it was blossomed, it was created. Even if it's just a shoulder brush, it has like a lot of significance. Yeah.
I want to take a moment to talk a little bit about technology with you, because I think, if I remember correctly, you were working on a technology project in Lisbon, Portugal, or something like that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, was it back when I was like in Kauai, Hawaii, working on like NFT?
It was an NFT type project. Yeah. Did you talk a little bit about what that was and what came of the experience and what you were doing?
I mean, they had many different companies that they were growing, and I just really enjoyed working beside the founder. And it was kind of a break from Dreams Overdue stuff, especially because COVID required me to kind of take some space from travel and respect that we need to stay home to contain the pandemic. And so in that time, I with this founder. They used to have like influencer marketing agency, and then they had a gold company, and they had an amazing resort in the Dominican Republic that I was at. And at this point they were jumping on the NFT wave and building this virtual art gallery for like curated NFT projects. And next thing I knew, I was in LA working with different artists and working on launching this art gallery and these different. But, you know, over time, I just started realizing that as cool as it was, and it expanded who I knew and what I was up to, and showed me like different worlds. I was living out in like Topanga and West Hollywood and meeting some incredible people. And as awesome as it was, I was really wanted to get back to the focus, which is like curating these experiences, showing people new ways to live, empowering people to pave their own path, and making sure that like they feel loved and supported on that. Because in 2019, for example, when I took my gap semester, I wasn't able to like look for guidance in anyone. I had to find it within myself, that confidence to go and pursue my own path. And I really wanted to be that support system for anyone else who's out there that has their own dream that doesn't align maybe with their environment or the people around them, but just like to encourage them to be those pioneers to pave their own path.
Interesting. And so that company was for artists to showcase and then sell their digital artwork.
Yeah, I mean, it had many different parts. We had like an NFT drop of like 4,444 avatars that like sold out, those classic avatar collections. And they were starting to like develop this metaverse game and everything.
Yeah.
And
with like alien figures or something.
they do resemble kind of aliens, but they were kind of like pixelated avatar type things.
Right.
And yeah, I was mostly focused on like press releases and kind of writing and posting and learning about the technology behind crypto and blockchain technology. And I was more fascinated by the decentralized structures, by the communities that were built around this. Like the US is such an individualistic based society that I was really intrigued by the idea that, okay, we're all coming together. Maybe it's over like art or art that like is starting not to even resemble art anymore. And maybe it's like totally imperfect, but I really love that like we're all starting to like talk about community and talk about coming together, especially because during COVID, I don't know if you remember those like weekly calls that we did with Aislinn, and we would start with a quick meditation, then start talking about a new topic every week, about comfort zone, about love, about travel, about living your dream. And through that process, I loved how people would meet virtually and then, first of all, get very deep. People think like, oh, online we can't like connect as deeply as we would in person. But I was really realizing that no, like people are sharing super openly, and there's so much trust in this like container in this Zoom call. And I really started realizing that like it's less about the travel and more about kind of having your community, having your people, having the support system, and most importantly, having the conversations that like you don't typically have day to day. So, like I was really fascinated by this idea that people were coming together and, really interested in those aspects of it.
One thing that really interests me is this concept called a DAO.
A
decentralized autonomous organization, I think.
Definitely.
And what that is to me is that's like a democracy where people can kind of vote, and they can, if they're like a shareholder, then they can express their opinions about the decisions that can be made for the organization. And I think that, I mean, on a high level, publicly traded companies are, and like in somewhat like shareholders have voting powers over some decisions, but even on a smaller basis, I think that whole concept, the whole NFT, like even like companies creating coins to fund themselves, that to me is something that we could see in the private sector of like private small companies. Like I think of like if Pure World were to come up with some sort of a pure coin or something, I don't know what it would be. And then people who bought into those had shares in the company, and then they could vote on decisions that are being made, like even down to the level of like bag designs. here are these different sets of designed
Exactly.
products. Which one should we bring to market?
That's exactly what I was excited about, kind of this decentralized way of giving the community the rights to vote and to make decisions and to be kind of part of the process, not just part of the result and the outcome.
Right.
And I really loved how with DAOs, there's also funding and resources, because kind of to be part of it, you have to pay to be in it. So now there's funding to bring those decisions to life, because oftentimes we have these circles where we talk about ideas, but it's like, okay, now how do we move them forward?
Yeah, nobody's actually has like stake in the game.
With DAOs, it's like you have stake, and then you also, the organization has the funding that was raised through the formation of the DAO to then go ahead and implement those changes.
Right.
And Dreams Overdue as well. Like, I would love to build a DAO. I actually have the villadao.com. I haven't opened the site yet, but I just bought the domain, and the Villa DAO will be like, so I know we haven't talked about Experience Crawl and my latest companies and stuff, but the Villa DAO will be the ownership, the shared ownership of these retreat villas where these experiences are happening, where people are co-living, where
almost like a timeshare in a way.
Yeah. Similar, just shared ownership of these locations around the world where people are coming together to kind of thrive and live and develop better habits and have more discipline and hold each other accountable, but in this like enjoyable way.
Totally.
Really loving the process.
Yeah, I think that's really smart. And the difference between like a DAO and a timeshare would be that the DAO is like, people are providing the funding to create the organization. I think if I understand it correctly, I'm not an expert on any of this stuff, but I was going to ask if you think that blockchain in any way could become relevant in the travel space and in like what you do with experiences, because just off the bat, I was thinking if anybody were to go on one of your Dreams Overdue experiences, maybe their ticket to the experience comes with the NFT, and then the NFT holders are only people who have been on your experiences, and therefore it really embodies that community. But then where it would get really interesting is when they sell that NFT. It's almost like sending an invite to somebody else, and maybe like if they sell it, like they get a discount on a ticket or something, almost like a referral type vibe. And there's like so many different
mechanics can look so many different ways. And I think for me personally, I decided to take space from that whole industry because it involves a lot of, rug pulling and scamming and kind of internet people. And I'm kind of more into the real world. So I wanted to make sure that I'm in a very like truthful, transparent, authentic space. Totally. And although I see the value in all of this, and it's gonna, as technology continues to develop, it's definitely gonna play itself out better. But for now, like we go on Google and we quickly search something, it's working, like the technology works and we use it. But I don't think blockchain has that yet, where everything we're using, even the MetaMask or just all the different technology that is involved in the security and privacy, and it just hasn't been developed to this like effortless user experience. It has so many steps and different parts, and that's kind of why after leaving this, I started Life is the metaverse, kind of playing life as a game. And I flew out to Guatemala and I was hosting different experiences for people, which were less focused on the group setting and more on kind of like quests. So people would come out on a solo quest, duo quest, and then I would put them all in one house on a squad quest. And like life was the video game they were playing. So they would arrive and maybe the driver would pick them up, and I would coordinate that someone else is on like a similar flight, arrives at the same time. Now they're like together in this shuttle with like
brilliant. I think that's really, really exciting, and that is on to some really, really exciting thinking. I think if that can get fleshed out and you can continue to do those things, I think it's really, really unique.
Yeah, it was really epic to see people like Gary came out on a quest, and first things first, he gets into the sauna, the jacuzzi. It's like one of his first times out of the country. He's in this like 5-star hotel that's like antique, a museum, a gallery, and in Antigua, which is like this cobblestone road city with volcanic backdrops. Then he's climbing a volcano above above the clouds watching lava spewing. It's like,
crazy.
yeah, it's just all this beauty, all this nature, comes down, gets a massage, gets on a private shuttle to his villa on the lake. And, you know, all of it was kind of like pre-planned without him really knowing what's going to happen, but with all of his intentions in mind and kind of like what I know that he's going to love planned for him. And I think that was just such a rewarding experience to go from being part of this like metaverse virtual world to like, let's just like treat life itself as the game and play it. And
yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I really, really like that.
So Gary came on this quest, and after coming back to the States to his life, he was just viewing his life differently with more of that life force energy I've been bringing up. What I think of as life force energy is like that energy you have when you score a goal or when you accomplish something, but without needing to do anything to have it. Just by breathing, just by like waking up to our short time on earth, that is what gives you the energy. You're no longer looking for something to give you that energy, just breathing and recognizing I'm alive right now. I'm grateful. I'm blessed. Thank you so much. And inhaling and exhaling, releasing any worries, any doubts, any fears, and just living from that place of wholeness, of abundance. And I think Gary, even 8 months later, kind of is activated to that and just wants to help anyone he sees and just wants to provide value to the people around him. And it's really cool to see the lasting impact that those experiences were having. But after those quests, I ended up spending the rest of 2022 just kind of focusing again on that inner world, like I did in India back in 2019. And I went to the Azores, the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, middle of nowhere. Even went to an island with like 300 people.
Wow.
Yeah. And just spent time alone there to kind of ground in my visions.
Wait, the Azores?
The Azores.
Is that
They belong to Portugal.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, super cool. Definitely would recommend.
I have a lot of friends from the Azores, like
cool.
my town.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people.
They come to Mass.
Yeah.
I met a lot of people that
Rhode Island as well.
had families who moved out here. Definitely. So I would recommend visiting in the summer. And yeah, I just spent time working out every day and looking in and trying to think, okay, I've done retreats for 5 years. How can I scale this concept beyond a retreat? Because this isn't about like a group of people going for a week to another country. This is about living our lives with like more joy and more excitement, more fulfillment, more connection, feeling supported and loved, not like waiting for something, living it now. And
Totally.
Paving your own path and taking risks and being brave, and just all of these concepts were kind of floating in my mind, especially because over the last few years when I wouldn't really market the retreats, I would just kind of put them together and be like, hey, do you trust? Your friend went, your friend loved it. Are you going to come? And it would organically fill up. And I took this year to think about what is the message behind all this, and started writing a lot more and started really dialing in what this was that I was creating. And that gave birth to Experience Crawl. And Experience Crawl is like an appetizer for dreams overdue. I think of it as just a few hours wherever you are in the world. You just let us know how you want to feel, what your budget is. And we curate a series of experiences to bring you that feeling.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like, we'll go from one place to another to catch the sunset here, to visit this person here, and just kind of onboarding restaurants and experience hosts and guides and retreats, and creating like a marketplace for experiences.
Yeah.
And
seems cool.
Yeah, we started just kind of running, kind of push carts of it down in Guatemala and bringing people on different experiences and continuing to guide different retreats for couples, for individuals, for founders and CEOs, and for people who were looking for a shift from their kind of ordinary routine for something different, to kind of reignite that spark of inspiration.
So it's kind of like something that you could do on a free afternoon, or if you're a couple, maybe like a date type of vibe, something like that, just an activity, making something out of nothing. And most tours are like focused on what you see and what you do, but we're so focused on like how you want to feel. And it's so interesting because over the years, I mean, over generations, feelings have not been that important. It's like ironic that how far we moved from feelings, when as a human race, feelings is what connects us. That's what makes
us human, we all want to feel a sense of belonging and safety and love and support and joy and excitement. We're all gonna feel moments of loneliness and sadness and confusion and a lack of clarity of what we really want. And so coming together and bringing people together to feel a certain way just felt so relevant, so aligned with my kind of like life's journey and purpose. And through all these experiences teaching me a lot, kind of creating this opportunity for people to not have to get on a plane to have an experience. And not have to change their life, but rather change the way they see it through an experience. Felt like really fitting and relevant.
Yeah, that sounds really cool. My advice to it is just and like as a callback to what we were talking about earlier, is slow and steady growth is sustainable growth. So, don't feel like you have to bite off more than you can chew, but just taking it step by step and seeing the results at each step that you're going. And then, eventually it's going to all culminate together into something that you're proud of. And, you can be proud of the first step you take. And as long as,
because every step is impact. Like, it's not like the destination when this is all together, then it's going to create the impact. It's like every experience someone goes on, every conversation about feelings, every look in, every, all of it is the impact. So it's not like I'm rushing to some kind of destination. It's all just a big fun journey. Exciting. And so many places, so many people. And I just feel so blessed to have pursued my own path and to have paved my own path, even when it felt risky, even when I didn't know what was going to happen or what it would look like. It was always such a good decision. I mean, in 2019, taking that gap semester before 2020 and being able to like go to India before COVID and such was just so profound and important in my life's path. And it feels so good to know that I did it when I could have done it. Like, I'm not going to look back and think, what if I had done that? Because that regret is way more painful than the regret of just going out. And
I can't disagree more. Wait, no, I can't agree more.
I think we mixed up a few words, but the message was clear.
Well, honestly, Rina, I've had so much fun talking to you. You're so exciting. And I feel like, you've got so many really fun projects that are coming out. For anybody who's watching and they want to connect with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, Instagram, if you'd like. My Instagram is Rina_Rabs, RABS. And you can reach out through Experience Crawl, fill out a form on an experience you want to have or how you want to feel. Or they can, just reach out to you. You'll connect us.
Yeah, if you guys reach out on my personal account, Jack Flynn, or at Pure World Service. Pure World Service is the best place to get some responses. So you can always message us and we can connect you with Rina's Instagram.
Yeah, cool. Let's connect. I love talking to new people, and we'll feel like we've known each other for a lifetime in just a moment. So yeah, I'm here for you guys, especially supporting you and loving you, not only for who you were or who you are today, but for who you're becoming and the steps you're going to have to take on your journey that might seem confusing to the people around you, but might be the best decisions of your life.
Cool. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Jack.
I'm Rina.
And this is the Pure World Podcast. If you'd like to support it, you can always shop the sustainably sourced adventure gear at pureworldshop.com. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
See ya.
See ya. We love you.